one after the other. Better food, better boyfriend, get a better girlfriend, running after the whole thing, better clothes, better cars, better houses, whole thing. Sensual gluttony. And so finally, what happens is that the moth is liberated from the cocoon. You see the liberation taking place. And this is the kind of thing. Then it gets that freedom, and that leaves the limitation of that cocoon. And the whole thing is the kindred process for getting into the suffering and then being done with it, and the journey through artha and kama, and being a glutton for the sense objects, and then finally the gluttony leading to moksha after 60. This is after 60. After 60. Now, overnight, does a moth become a butterfly? Or just overnight does it become? There's a time frame, right? Now you understand how moksha will take time? You've got to go through the sensual gluttony in artha and kama. You've got to become a big fat pig, and then the fat pig has to die and a butterfly has to come out. Now in the Hindu world, this is Mount Kailash in the Himalayas. And Hindus make a pilgrimage because pilgrimages are very important in Hindu India, as they are in Christian countries, as Buddhist pilgrimages are also important, as pilgrimages are also important in Islam. They go to Mecca. Now, why is a pilgrimage important? You got to think. Everything you got to find out. Pardon?
Metaphor of your life, no?
Pardon?
Pilgrimage is like a metaphor of life, no? You walk, it's like walking your life, and then you start. Like you go to a journey to God, no? But it's like the life journey, no?
And process.
Just by the body going to Mecca, have you made a journey of life?
No, it's like a similitude of what is my life.
Yeah. So what are you going to do during the pilgrimage? What are you going to do?
To search for God.
Exactly. Got to go inward. Got to go inward. And you need time for that, yes? So you need time for it. You must not be disturbed. So you must have no worldly distractions. So you take a few weeks off. You go for a spiritual retreat to the Golden City, or you go to Mecca, or you go to Benares, or you go to Rameshwaram. You go to any one of the holy places in India. And you must have plenty of time to think. That's the key. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. First you hear the teaching, then you think the teaching, Manana is thinking, then Nididhyasana, you meditate on the teaching. And that requires time. So in former times, they used to just keep walking. Walking on foot, walking 250 miles. And in a very leisurely way, not in a hurry, no fixed time schedules, and you're taking the time to contemplate and to think, to ponder over enigmas of your life. To ponder. So all the pilgrimages are there for you to ponder over your life and to connect to God, to inquire into the self, and to connect to the imperceptible inner self, which is the face of God closest to us. So the pilgrimages. So Hindus go on a pilgrimage to Mount Kailash because they believe that this Mount Kailash is, already Ramana Maharshi said, any hill, that Arunachala hill is Shiva, he said. So the Hindus identified Kailash with Shiva. And it points to Atma. Now, during the pilgrimage, you got to do the sadhana, the spiritual practice of Atma Vichara, of enquiry, of meditation, according to the system to which you are accustomed. And your system may be different than for my system. But whatever your system is, you've got to be true to your system, and you've got to be in that practice for 20 days, for 25 days. Observing silence, more silence, the better for you. So the Hindus go here. Now, the whole pilgrimage is a metaphor, because the real pilgrimage is to the imperceptible inner self. You've got to get here. And for that, you have the whole of life to get here. So this is just a kind of symptomatic pilgrimage, a metaphoric pilgrimage, to remind you time and again, that you ought to make a journey, a spiritual pilgrimage to God or ultimate reality, the Paramatma, the Atma within yourself. You've got to travel to that through an inward journey. Not a journey through the sensory world, but going inwardly through all the hurts, through all the pain, till you come to the bedrock of that silence. And so this, for the Hindus, is a metaphor for the Atma who is Shiva, or Shiva who is the Atma. Like in the south of India, Ramana Maharshi said, Arunachala hill is Shiva. And throughout the north of India, they say Mount Kailash is Shiva, that is his abode. Yeah. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti kechid atmanam atmana anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. So, you do meditation. Dhyana is meditation. Dhyana yoga is the yoga of meditation. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti. Pashyanti means to see. So, you got to perceive the Atma. How? Through meditation, through dhyana. Through dhyana or meditation. And the word dhyana here can have many meanings depending on the school of philosophy to which you belong, on the path of yoga on which you are walking, because there are many paths to this Atma, and all are equally legitimate. Dhyanena atmani pashyanti. So, you can perceive this Atma, the imperceptible inner self, by meditation or dhyana, and that can be according to the meditation of Krishnamurti, or the meditation of Nisargadatta Maharaj, or the meditation of Ramana Maharshi, Atma Vichara, who am I? Any one of them is legitimate. Or it can be the Hindu method of chanting a mantra. All of them are dhyana, meditation. So, by meditation, you can perceive the Atma and realize the Atma. Kechid atmanam atmana. This is more subtle. Not by meditating, but by just being the Atma somehow, just by slipping into it and falling into it, and then realizing you're that. Not by meditating, by becoming very, very silent, withdrawing from Shakti, withdrawing from Shakti, withdrawing from Shakti, then falling down the precipice into Shiva's lap. Then that's the Atma. It may not happen for everybody. It may happen for some. That way also you can come home to the Atma. Anye sankhena yogena. Or you can study. There is a school of philosophy, a darshana, a worldview for the Hindus called Sankhya, which is an understanding of the world which is God-centered, a philosophy, an outlook, a darshana for the whole world, understanding the plurality in the world and the diverse, mind-boggling diversity in the world, understanding it in a God-centered viewpoint. That's called Sankhya. Sankhya means analytical and classified. It's like science. Like I said, Bhumi rapo nalo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha. Ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. So there are 8 categories: the earth element, the fire element, the water element, the space element, and what element? The wind element, and the feeling nature, the manas, and the ego, and the intellect. They constitute the 8. Now, this is Sankhya. This is how you classify things, you understand where is the divine, which is the lower manifestation of the divine, which is the higher manifestation of the divine. So, through Sankhya also you can get to the Atma. Through Sankhya, which is the philosophy of the Hindus. Anye Sankhena, some Sankhena yogena, karma yogena chapare. Yoga means to yoke into the Atma. Yoga means the yoking of yourself to the Atma, to Shiva, is yoga. The word yoga means to yoke into, the union. And so through Sankhya you can reach, and Karma Yoga. So what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga, for whom is it suitable? Karma Yoga is selfless service. Like my host Maggie Ji and her family are doing, and even Noorji was doing at the dining table, selfless service, like my wonderful divine team is doing under the leadership of Ricardo Ji, completely selfless service, dedication, in which there is no self-interest, as a service to God. That is Karma Yoga. And then, so long as you're doing that Karma Yoga, you'll never know the value of it. I did Karma Yoga for my master's mission for 17 years. I did Karma Yoga. For the Oneness movement, before the Oneness movement spread all over the world, most difficult period for that movement. Even the name did not exist at that time. Very humble beginnings, sleeping on the floor. 17 years, expecting nothing in return, no future. Karma Yoga. Now, as long as you're doing the Karma Yoga, you will never know the value of it because it looks like a donkey's job. He said, what is this stupid thing slogging like a bull night and day? And what am I going to get out of all things? You will get that later. So because I did this Karma Yoga for my master in a completely selfless way, with a very pure heart, without any ulterior motives, I got the fruit. Because you will never know it so long as you're doing the Karma Yoga. Because you're just working, you're working, you're working. The fruit will come later. So you can reach the Atma either through Karma Yoga, selfless service, without any ulterior motives, with a noble pure heart, or you can be an analyst and a theoretician, analyzing, and then trying to understand where is this God, or you can be one of those lucky guys who just withdraws from Shakti and just slips into the Atma, Atmanam Atmana, or you can meditate in any one of the myriad methods of meditation, and then you can perceive the Atma, the truth of the Atma. So there are so many paths. And are all the paths going to be favorable for us? No. According to your destiny, there is a path which will be favorable for you, and that becomes your Swadharma, or the path which is natural for you. And the path which is natural for you is you will feel good being on that path. That's the test. Because that suits your temperament, suits the inclination, the calling seems perfect, the calling is right. So you've got to search out and work out your own path. The path of Bhakti Yoga is not mentioned by the avatar Krishna in this sutra, but a whole chapter is devoted to Bhakti Yoga. In the Gita, I'm not going into it because I'm not expounding that yoga. I'm expounding Jnana Yoga, or self-realization, or the path of understanding. That's what I'm doing in the retreat. I'm not doing the path of devotion, though devotion will be a great asset and a great help for all people who are on the path of understanding. So, but Bhakti is not mentioned here. Okay, this I've explained. And now, therefore, there are paths and paths and paths in the world, and as many paths as probably as many seekers in the world. One path for every seeker according to his temperamental inclinations. And we'll see what we find here. Sometimes the innermost orbit of one yoga, say Bhakti Yoga, will be almost coincident with the outermost orbit of the previous yoga, say Jnana Yoga, in this case. Thus, the yogas can overlap somewhat. So they are like electronic orbitals around a nucleus, many, many paths. And you've got to be on some path which is natural for you, which you love to be on that path, and you love to do work on that path, and then keep going on that till you get your final liberation, like the butterfly got liberated. So easy. I've come to part 5 now. or for meditation. Now again, now we are going to, because break, okay. Now we are going to take good news for you, break. Now this is part 6, and we are just going to fill in the blanks. We have covered good amount of ground, and because all of you are seekers, this is not completely a new thing for you. You have made connections with all the old perceptions and the understanding which was already there, and maybe just the picture may be just getting complete and may see it more clearly and brightly. And in this part, we pay greater attention to the unmanifest aspect of the divine, which is the divine in the most sacred form. The manifest aspect of the divine does not have the sacredness to the same extent. It is taken for granted because it is in the field of the senses. But when you go away from the senses, then you feel the sacredness in the form of silence and so on. Now this is a model, a Hindu thinking. The Hindus, how do they think? Because they are obsessed with God and ultimate reality, and they've been pondering it generation after generation, knowledge transmitted from father to son and so on. And so they see this Atma, they see the Atma like this. It's just a model for us to understand more clearly. First, there is Annamaya Kosha. Kosha means sheath, a covering. It's a cladding. It's a covering. And Annamaya is of the nature of food. So the physical body is described in Sanskrit as a sheath made up of food. Because if food is cut off, then this body just perishes. So this body is sustained by our breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it's called the food body. Then there are other bodies also. The grossest and the densest, the outer covering, is the food body. And then there is Pranamaya Kosha. Now, as we start paying attention to breath, in yoga, you start paying attention to breath. You start breathing according to a prescribed rhythm, inhalation, then holding a breath, and exhalation. And as you keep on observing your breath, you will develop what is called breath awareness. Breath awareness. And when breath awareness has come to stay, it will be a self-evident realization for you that you are in fact the breath. So you move away from the initial provisional declaration that you are the body. You first make a declaration which is the most obvious declaration about your identity: I am the body. Then you get into yoga and you start observing your breath, and then you make a more subtler declaration about yourself as to who you are. Then you say, I am the breath. Second declaration. So you made one definition of the self, who you are. Then you made a second declaration of the self, that you are the breath. And then you begin to introspect. So this is called pranamaya. That is the body. What is this body? The body itself is made up of not food but breath. So it is the breath body. So that is called pranamaya kosha. And then the third sheath, kosha means sheath, is manomaya kosha. And that is, now this is a thing which is with which we like to identify. This is the consciousness, the web of thought and feeling, the network of thought and feeling. And it's so obvious as we introspect and introspect that we may get the feeling, yeah, this is me. The network and the web of thought and feeling. So that is manomaya kosha. So you move from from the body to the breath body, then to the mind and feeling body. Now in astrology, this is described by the first house, this is described by the third house, this is described by the fourth house. And then you go to an even subtler identity for yourself, and that is called Vijnanamaya Kosha. Kosha means sheath, and Vijnana is knowledge which has become understanding and realization. So it is the sheath, or it is the body, or the bouquet of insights. Like you have a flower bouquet, you have a bouquet purely of insights. So you keep getting these insights every minute. They're coming, endless. It's like the march of insights. They're keeping on, like breath is keeping on coming, the insights are keeping on coming. Wherever the senses look, whenever you're silent, the continuous march of those insights. So that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the body of insights and wisdom, of understanding and realization. So anybody who is getting these insights and is perceptive enough, he will say, no, I'm not the gross body, no, I'm not the breath body, no, I'm not even the body of the feelings and thoughts, but my real essence is all these marching soldiers of insight. Every soldier is an insight, and there is a march past. They're marching. They're coming into your life, they're coming into consciousness, they're moving out. They're coming in, they're moving out. And so I am the train of insights. So you'll make a declarative statement that I am this Vijnanamaya Kosha, the sheath of insights. And then even beyond that is great silence and bliss. And therefore that is called Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya Kosha. Ananda is bliss. So it's just feeling so good and so great that you just want to do nothing. Just be on your couch. And you can be dancing, you can be singing, you can be doing anything. It's immaterial what you do, because already you're in heaven. That's Anandamaya Kosha. And then Atma, beyond that is the Atma, the imperceptible inner self. And this is the fourth house, just as the Manomaya Kosha, but after moksha, when the the sense of identity has completely gone. No separate identity for yourself. Just flowing with the whole moment of creation. So, I am the body, I am so and so, an Atma, I am Asmita, fourth house, I am the thinker, I feel an Atma. So, you have different, the eye is the same, the naked eye is the same, but the eye takes on a different cladding in each sheath. The grossest cladding is the body. So I am the body. Then you say, I am the breath. Then you say, I am the mind and the feeling. Then you say, I am the insights. So like that, you keep on making the journey subtler and subtler till you come to the Atma. Then you have to say, I am that. Then you got to say, I am that. And then that is Tattvamasi. Thou art that. So it's a progressive journey. It's a progressive learning, and it's a progressive journey from that which is gross to that which is subtler and subtler and subtler till you come to the subtlemost thing, and that is the Atma. Yes, we saw this, that you cannot say whether it exists and you cannot say that it does not exist. We saw this. Great sutra. Now another sutra on God and how to understand this ultimate reality and how to make it our own personal truth. Nothing to be believed in, everything to be realized. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatva tat avijneyam durastam chantike chatate. So he is outside, bahihi is outside, antaha is inside. He is outside and inside of every creature, whether animate or inanimate, even in stones. He is there. Inside and outside. Inside as consciousness. Outside as the outer world that the senses perceive. Trees and mountains and water and lakes and so on. And people. So he's inside, he's outside. He's inside the dog as the eye sense in the dog. Then he's outside as the world perceived by the dog, which is a very grey world. Then he's inside the human consciousness as the eye sense, then is outside the lovely mountains, the galaxies that you saw, and the beautiful forests on planet Earth, and everything. In acharam charamevacha, in moving